Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Alfred Hitchcock Presents review. Today it is Season 1, Episode 33, The Belfry, starring Jack Mullaney as Clint and Patricia Hitchcock as Ellie. And I would say this episode's a bit underwhelming. I would consider this a below-average episode of the show. It's watchable, but I feel like it has too many issues to really be considered a good episode. So we start at a school, and the school bell is ringing, which will be significant throughout the episode, and we meet our main character, Ellie, a school teacher, and it seems like school's just let out, and a man named Clint, our other lead character, comes to talk to her, and it seems that Clint wants to marry Ellie, but Ellie isn't interested in him in that way. She is engaged to another person. So when Ellie's fiance comes by to break this conversation up, Clint just out of nowhere goes off and kills him. So this guy obviously does something here that's not recommended, I would say. So at this point, a kid witnesses it, and Clint takes off, and he's basically now in hiding. So a decent enough premise. I just wish the execution were a little bit better, as it's a little off, in my opinion. One thing I did like is that through the rest of the episode, we will get Clint's thoughts, basically. He doesn't speak, but we get it through narration, so we find out what he's thinking. I thought that it wasn't great, but it worked well enough. So he's thinking about Ellie and the life they could have together, and at this point he's still very interested in her, which will change soon. So some men in the town are looking for him, and he's hiding, and he decides it would be a good idea, since everybody thinks he'll probably leave town, to hide in the school bell tower, and that way he'll be close to Ellie as well. So the sheriff and the men just keep looking for him, and the next day they're still looking for him. They haven't found him. They figure he'd be long gone by now, which I guess makes sense. And at this point also, Clint finds out that Ellie is kind of turning on him. She's helping in the search, giving suggestions. So he's now upset with her, and he decides before he leaves he's going to do her in as well. So that's his new plan. And then we get a scene which is kind of creepy, to be fair, with Clint walking around with his weapon in the classroom, which I thought was disturbing. And he writes a warning on the blackboard to Ellie, basically saying he's going to get her next. Unfortunately, this scene is kind of interesting, but it leads to some real logical problems in the episode, in my opinion. So the next day, Ellie sees this message on the board, and she assumes that one of the school children did it. Now, here's my first problem. Why would you assume a student did this? You know that there's a man with a grudge against you out to get you, and you don't think that he might still be around and did this. And then a girl in the class says it was already there when I got here. So now Ellie seems worried, but as we'll see later, she's probably not worried enough about this. So the children go to recess in the next scene, and basically they lose a ball in this subplot, which loses nowhere, two of the boys. And the bell just rings again to start class, and Clint's still just up there. And then we go to the next scene where school lets out, and the bell rings yet again, and Clint is still up there, and we get it. The bell is symbolism for what's going to happen at the end of the episode. By this time, I thought they were drilling home a little bit too much that the bell ringing was going to have something to do with the end of the episode. We get it. So at this point, Ellie's now by herself in the school, which seems like an unwise thing to do. This Ellie really isn't what's a good way to say it? Not the smartest Twilight Zone character ever. So the sheriff comes by and he says, I should probably walk you home because this guy could still be out here. One of the children told me there was a warning on the blackboard. And Ellie still thinks nothing of this. She says he must be long gone by now. Why? I don't get why they think he must be long gone. And even after the warning on the blackboard, she still says it must be a prank, even though one of the children told her that the message was there when they came in. That part is just completely baffling to me. Others may find it to their satisfaction. I just didn't get it. It feels like a plot contrivance at this point so that Clint isn't caught yet. So two kids from the school go looking for their lost ball in a scene that leads absolutely nowhere and seems like filler. And then Clint hears the sheriff and a man talking in the next scene about how he must have gotten away. And at this point, this is starting to get a little bit dull and repetitive. Didn't anybody think after the warning on the blackboard to maybe look for this guy in town? I'm just saying. So then we get this church service going on, and this is significant. They mention Walt, I believe his name is, the man that was killed by Clint, and Clint is pleased. He figures they'll never catch him at this point. He thinks he got away with it. He says he'll get Ellie and then he'll leave tomorrow. So he's resting and he basically falls asleep. And after the funeral for this man, someone rings the bell basically, and it startles Clint, and he wakes up and he screams, and the man must have heard this, which is pretty impressive considering he heard this scream so clearly over the bell. But whatever, I'll just go with it. This episode has some other issues that are bigger, so they now know where he is, and that's how the episode basically ends. And we get an amusing closing from Alfred Hitchcock. Kind of an underwhelming ending, that's it. The bell rings and he screams. But this is a watchable episode. It's not terrible. There is a creepy mood through parts of it, even though it drags on and is a little bit too obvious. So overall, I give The Belfry a 2 out of 5. Certainly not an essential episode, but it's watchable. So a 2 out of 5 for The Belfry. And as always, thank you very much for watching.